So, hello everybody. This is Michael Watson. It is the 5th of January 2017, Super Bowl Sunday, and we are talking with some superstars on the IACT IMDHA Presenter Series as we get geared up to catch the wave at the 2017 Hypno Expo in Daytona Beach. That's on the weekend of March 19th. Let me see if I'm doing that right. The weekend of May, rather, 19th through the 21st, with some pre and post conferences that are before and after the weekend. In a few minutes, we're going to be talking with George Bien about training in hypnosis and the master trainer training that he offers, the IACT Master Trainer Training. And that will be at the Hypno Expo as well. It's a 5-day program on the 17th, the 18th, and 19th. That is the 3 days at the beginning of the conference, and the 22nd and 23rd after the conference. But before we talk to George, I've got a couple of announcements that I want to make, and some information that will help you to get the best out of this call. If you have joined us on your computer, here's a little information that might help. If you look up at the top right of your screen, it may only show up if you bring your mouse up there. You may see the words gallery view or speaker view. If you see the words gallery view, just stay where you are, because it means that's the way to get into gallery view, by the way, which just puts everybody on your screen. And you don't want to see all of those faces. You want to be able to see the people that are talking to you. If it says speaker view up there, it means to get to speaker view, you need to click it. And if you're in speaker view, you'll see the person who's talking. So right now you will see me. When George is talking, you will see George. Et cetera, et cetera. So that's something that you can do that might help a little bit. Also, at the bottom of your screen, if you bring your mouse down to the bottom, you'll see a place where it says participants. And if you click on that, a little window will pop up that shows the names of all the participants on the call. And those of you who have shown that have called on the phone, it does like a caller ID, and it just shows phone numbers because it doesn't know your name. And the reason that I'm pointing that out to you is that at the bottom of that participants window, there's a couple little menu options, and one of them is raise hand. So when we get to the place where we have questions and answers and things like that, if you click on that little raise hand, I will know that you have a question, and I'll be able to open up your mic so that you can ask your question. If you're on the telephone rather than the computer and you want to raise your hand, *9 will be what you do in order to do that. Just dial *9 on your phone when we're in the questions time, and that will let me know you have a question, and I will identify you and and give you a chance to ask your question. That's going to happen just a little bit later. Let's see. There's also, if you have an interest in it, down at the bottom of the screen, another option is chat, and you can open up a little chat window here. It doesn't really get used for much, but if there's some comment that you want to make, either to get my attention or during the call or something, you can feel free to type in a comment in that box, and I'll be monitoring it just in case something comes along that you need to tell me about or you want to let me know. And if you've called in on your phone, yeah, I've already said, if you've called in on your phone, you can raise your hand with *9 when we come to that part. So, and for those of you who like to share and who just can't get enough of all of the great stuff that we've been offering you here through IACT IMDHA and in preparation for the expo, this session is being recorded and it will be posted tomorrow on the Mind Matters forum, on the website for IACT or IMDHA. You can get access to the forum just by following the links. So the video will be there for you to see. And also it'll be posted 2 other places on the website that I haven't been telling you about. One of them is at the top of the website, both websites, IACT and IMDHA. At the top of the website, there's a bar with a number of menu choices. One of the choices is conference. And if you click on the conference tab, down underneath of it, you will see one of the selections is teleconferences. And click on that, and you'll see a list of the teleconferences we've had and links that you can click on to replay those. Also under media, which is at the top of both of the pages, there's the Hypnocaster. And Hypnocaster as well has archived the programs that we're doing here. So if you want to listen to George again tomorrow because you have been so impressed with what he has had to say to you tonight, in fact, so impressed that you can't possibly take it all in one setting, that you'll want to listen again, and you can do that. And you also can let your friends and associates and other hypnotists that the ones you like and the ones that you don't like quite as much, just know exactly where they can see the video as well, so that they can get the benefit of this program. And as always, if none of these options work for you in terms of getting access to the video, or you just can't figure out how to do it, you can send a note to me at FLHypno, just think Florida Hypnosis, FLHypno at Outlook.com, and just let me know that you'd like a link to the program that we did, and I will send that right on over to you. And by the way, for those of you on the phone, of course, if you get the link, then you can look later on and you can see how dashing and charming we are and how impeccably wonderfully George Bien is, as always, dressed, as he talks to us tonight. And I wonder if you know that you can get CEUs for just listening to this call and being here tonight. And the way to do that is to log on to the website for IACT or for IMDHA, whichever one you are members of, or both if you are members of both. And you'll be able to enter in your CEU hours when you just log in with your member ID. There's a window that pops up, and it gives you a choice of claiming the CEUs that you've got. You get 1 hour of CEUs for this 1 hour call. And this series of talks goes on every Sunday for a total of 15 weeks. Every Sunday until April 23rd. That will be the last one, when it will be me and Mark Andreas. I will interview myself, but I ask myself questions all the time, and Mark will participate as well. Next week, in this very same time and very same place, I'll be talking with Sherry Gilbert about transpersonal hypnosis, so I'm really looking forward to that. So, finally, it is time for me to introduce to you the long-awaited George Bien. And what I can tell you is that George has, gosh, I have known George for such a while now, and it's so great to always to talk with him. He has created and taught advanced hypnosis training programs and been the principal trainer for organizations such as the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, the National Guild of Hypnotists, and the American Board of Hypnotherapy. He is the world's first recipient of the National Guild of Hypnotists President's Award, and the world's first recipient of the Dr. Rexford L. North Memorial Trophy, the Oscar of Hypnosis, and the world's first recipient of the Charles Tebbets Award. Oh my gosh, firsts. And the only person in the world to be twice honored with the IACT Educator of the Year Award. And George was inducted into the Hypnosis Hall of Fame in 1989. And in fact, George says, even if you have already, about this course, by the way, that we're going to be talking about tonight, he says, even if you've already taken a certified hypnosis the trainer program with another organization, this comprehensive 5-day training experience will take your hypnosis training skills to the next level. So we are really happy to have you with us, George, and thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Well, I appreciate everything you said. Was that written out, or did you memorize that?
Yes.
It's really good. There's a quote, and I kept saying it to myself over and over again so I wouldn't forget it. And it's by Terry Litwiller. And she says, success comes from having dreams that are bigger than your fears. And I think that's something we have to really consider, that if we want something, and so do many of us, including myself over times, I've been afraid to perhaps go to the extra mile or do that extra thing, or perhaps even call that person I wanted to get in touch with, or perhaps get to know, whatever it may be, because of fears. And my background was one fear after another fear. And those of you who know a bit about me know that I was a musician for many years. And I worked as a professional guitarist and worked with pit orchestras on Broadway, worked in Vegas, Tahoe, Reno, all of this. But I was afraid every time that conductor would put the baton or use that whatever, I was afraid I may not play the right note or things like that. So it took a long time for me to come to the aspect of really just feeling comfortable being in front of people. I was a great watcher, but it was difficult for me to be a doer. And that's really what got me interested in hypnosis, to help myself basically overcome all those fears and feel comfortable virtually in any situation.
Great.
So I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be part of IACT, an organization that I was involved with long ago when Jillian Lavelle owned the organization. So it's been quite a journey for me. quite a journey. A lot of learning, a lot of experiences, met a lot of wonderful people. And people sometimes ask me, do you have any hard feelings with NGH? No, no hard feelings. Let's put it this way. No hard feelings at all that I want to talk about or discuss. No, I'm kidding. But again, the time was right, and I had to move on from there. And with the American Board and Dr. Al Krasner, we became very close, really good friends. And it was a kingdom years ago. There was basically the American Board of Hypnotherapy. There was the Council of Hypnosis. There were all these kingdoms, and people were fighting with each other. And on the outside, they'd say wonderful things, but in the inside, I don't know if there was a jealousy or an anger or what it may be, or a concern. But I'm glad that seems to be over. And IACT definitely is a representation of an organization that accepts all of these other organizations as they are and doesn't try to interfere, but just maintains its own integrity and has actually become, in my opinion, the greatest of the organizations in the hypnotic process.
Yeah, in fact, I couldn't agree with you more. It's one of the questions I was going to ask you is, what is it for you that makes IACT such a special organization?
Well, it's the people who run IACT that make it so special.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert and Otto know each other, and Linda Otto for years. When I was with NGH, we knew each other. And it's interesting, when I first met Robert, I was doing something for the Hypnosis Hall of Fame, and I was doing a program for them, and they had a mini conference or whatever it was, and on a break, students of mine came into class running in, and I said, you've got to hear this person. You've got to come in. I said, who is this? I said, what are you talking about? I said, you got to hear him. You got to hear him, George. I said, all right, there goes my lunch hour. Mm-hmm. So I go in a room, and there's this gentleman in front of the room. And I watched, and I watched, and I watched, and I said, my God, this is one of the most dynamic presenters I've ever heard in my whole life. And it was Robert Otto, and that's the first time I ever heard him. And I said, wow, what a dynamic speaker. I said, he literally lifted the energy in that room to such a mammoth proportion. It was extraordinary. And I was captivated. Yeah. And I spoke to him. I mean, over the years, we've become good friends. But this is so many years ago, and he's still like that in front of a room.
Yeah, you know, in fact, I lost a lunch. I lost a lunch to Robert Otto some 15 years ago as well. So we're here, and it was exactly the same thing. You know, I think it was at the American Board conference in Southern California, perhaps. Somebody said, you gotta go hear this guy. You gotta go hear this guy. And I was like, oh my God, such energy, such dynamism, and you know, and like.
Oh. Extremely dynamic. You know, Robert and I did some presentations in New York City, and I'll never forget this. We're at this conference, and I go on, Robert goes on, I go on, Robert goes on, and all of a sudden, Robert and I are on the stage together, and I look at him, I say, Robert, I think we scared the heck out of these people. These people were like looking at us almost in terror, but I was hoping that they were sort of riveted, not scared. But man, I mean, when you work with Robert on stage, you have to pull all the stops just to stay in the same energy.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, he's not in competition. He just automatically pulls more stops.
Yeah.
And it's just automatic. So you have to do it also. So we decided perhaps we shouldn't scare too many people. And we haven't done anything since together.
Yeah, really scale it back a little bit, will you guys?
Oh, man.
So, you know, George, you have been conducting hypnosis training since since the late 80s, and you know, hypnosis. The field is changing. New ideas are coming into play. Different technologies become available, and all that stuff. So through all of that time, what, if anything, has changed in terms of hypnosis training?
Well, the thing is this, it's, first of all, a lot of people are doing trainings, no doubt about it. Some are very, very good, and some that I've seen are not so good. But it's not a question of not having the knowledge. They usually have the knowledge. It's a question, are they able to connect well enough? I mean, people make decisions based on the proposition, how maybe a proposition is framed, okay? And people will do more to avoid losing than to make an equal gain. So the thing is, in this kind of a thing, it's almost like a lot of them are in your face just to sell the program more so than actually offering you something that you can get of value.
Yes, yeah.
And not to diminish what they do, because all of them are pretty good. Some are extremely good, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, where is the heart?
Yes.
And it seems it's more about the numbers that they can get,
You bet.
rather than what they can do for an individual who's part of the group that's listening to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and by the way, of course, hypnosis is a business, and I wouldn't want to take away from that.
No, without doubt.
But there are businessmen who are doing this as a business, and there are people, and I think you're one of them, George, who the only word that comes to mind for me is vocation. I think that you have a natural gift, you have a calling to do this, and you're really able to impart what it is that you do through your training programs. One of the things I would ask, though, because you're a great speaker, you're a great presenter, we love to hear from you. Would you recommend that people, as well as like a trainer training and all that, would you recommend that they take courses in, say, public speaking and before they attend your master trainer program?
Well, let's put it this way. It never hurts to take a public speaking program. I conduct a public speaking program, and I see transformations in front of me that are just simply extraordinary. Mm-hmm. And it's a very important thing to me because of my shyness over the years, where I could not speak up for myself. If I was interested romantically in somebody, I could not come up to that person and say anything. And I would go to a party, and people would bring me there and say, George, maybe you'll meet somebody here. And if somebody came up to me and said, hi, and I said, I'll be right back. And I'd leave and I wouldn't come back. It was that bad. Mm-hmm. That's why I practiced guitar 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And I became good at that because that's all I was doing. I was afraid of people, literally afraid of people, afraid of what they might think of me, that it would not be positive. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you, it has transformed my life. This transforms the lives of people in general. And to teach a course like the Train the Trainer program, that is just a wonderful. I'm so proud to be able to do something like that, to teach people to be trainers themselves so they can go out there and make a difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Not just as hypnotherapists, meaning in let's say, in an environment of their office, but actually as in groups.
Yes. So something that I wonder is that oftentimes you find people that have just taken a trainer program or just taken a hypnotherapy certification course or anything for that matter, and they go through a training, they get some skills and stuff, and then they come out back into the world and and they're hesitant or something just kind of holds them back. What is it? What is the obstacle that you see that kind of holds new trainers back from just kind of being the best that they could be and really getting it out there?
Wow. Well, look, they have to have a clear vision, first of all. That's important. And if anything holds them back, it's their own self that holds them back. And the idea for a trainer, what do? You share your vision with others so they can follow it, hopefully willingly. You give them information, knowledge, methods to realize that vision and to coordinate balancing conflicting interests that might be holding them back to do something about them. In other words, you're in a leadership position. And what does a leader do? It steps up in times of crisis. And in class, I've seen crisis. I've seen people fall apart. They get in front of the room, be it a speaking workshop or even the master trainer program, to get in front of the room and start crying. Mm-hmm. And what do? I say, well, I'm not going to pass this person. This person is not a cut out for it. No, this person has feelings and deep feelings. And what that person needs is just somebody to support them for that moment. So we step in, if we're going to be in a leadership position, to step in the form of a crisis and creatively difficult situations. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way. I've been there. I've cried. I've been scared. I've been frightened. I've been worried. Yeah. I've had negative feelings about myself. So I can relate to it. Of course, I can't relate to it exactly the way they're feeling it, but I can understand it to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's one of the things that I know just from training myself is that at least the places that I go and the kind of issues that we deal with people anyway, they're really touching, and it's only natural that there are going to be some moments that really, I find myself like having to stop and take that extra breath because, something really sort of, brought out an emotional response to me before I can go on. And I used to be kind of afraid of having that sort of response. No, I actually really love that about myself, because what it lets me know is that I really am sort of present there with what's happening in the room, and it just feels more alive.
And you should appreciate that. You know, it's not being egotistical. It's just being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it this way. We meet a person for a reason, and the person's going to be either a blessing or a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many lessons from people I've met. And you have to understand, and people have to understand that it takes sadness to know happiness.
Yeah.
It takes noise to appreciate silence. It takes absence to be able to value presence.
That's right.
So these are things that we, as leaders in the leadership positions, since we do trainings and things like that, your obligation as leader is not to be popular or make history. Your obligation as leaders to make people better. And that's the first thing. When I size a person up, and I may be wrong, so I don't just take an issue with it immediately, but I size a person up and I try to study them. What does this person need to move to the next level? You know what I'm saying? Because I said, in a leadership position, my job is to make that person better.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we have to realize. And have to use, the most important thing we have is our imagination many times.
Mm-hmm.
So, logic may get you from point A to point B, but imagination will take you everywhere. I didn't say that. Albert Einstein said that. And it's so true. So we're not limited. We're limited not by abilities, but we're limited by what? Our vision. And so if anybody's like that, there's a certain vision that they're limited by. As I know for a fact, because I was limited by my own vision of myself.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that as we talk about your program and sort of letting people know about it, the obvious question would be who is this program for? But I've got a slightly different one for you, and that is there any specific kind of person who wouldn't do well in your trainer's program?
Well, look, first of all, you have to have a plan. If a person has a plan, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. Somebody said that, they're smarter than I am. So they have to have a plan for their lives. And basically, if they feel that they want to go to the next level, where initially they're helping themselves, working on themselves, doing what needs to be done, and now they say, listen, it's time for me to be in a leadership position. It's time for me to help people help others. Mm-hmm. Because even though people may in their private practice help someone, imagine what they could do with a group.
Yeah.
Imagine what they can do if they're training other people. Imagine what they can do if they are, I've had trainers who've had 50 people in their classes, 100 people in their classes. Now that's a significant amount of people. And even if they only have 1 or 2 people, they are changing lives.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what can we say? We want to have the ability to bring oneself totally into your presentations, to see more, to hear more, to feel more, and to be truly at what NLP calls uptime, experiencing extraordinary, NLP would call it sensory acuity, displaying confidence, credibility, approachability, having hopefully dynamic stage presence and charisma, a la Robert Otto. Yeah. And that kind of a thing. But we all have our own personal charisma. Michael, I see you on stage. I see you in a room. When I see people gravitate towards you, it's something that beams from you. It's something that glows from you. You shine, you glow, you radiate, you're magnificent. And you've changed lives for the better of thousands of people. And that's what these people need. They need your passion. Before a seminar starts, what do? I usually just look at people. No, I shake hands. I want to get to know the people. Why are they there?
Yeah.
And they want something more than they have. Mm-hmm. I wanted something more than I have. When I studied with Gil Boyne, I was terrified of the man. Terrified. He scared the hell out of me. And he was throwing people out of the room. If somebody said something he didn't like, they were out.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to even open my mouth or ask a question. And at one point, somebody says, well, Mr. Boyne, are we going to practice anything? He says, practice. Do it yourself. And we didn't see him for the rest of the day. And so we're in there. So I had some training before that because I studied with Stephen Lavelle, who was actually my first trainer. And all due respect to Stephen, he did a lot of wonderful things. And anyway, So Gil Boyne comes back and he walks up to me and I am literally shaking. And he says, "You." And I said, "Oh, he's going to throw me out of the class." He says, "You have the hypnotism fever." I said, "Is that okay?" He said, "It's good." and he walked away. And I never forgot that. And we had become really good friends over the years. Gil and I spent a lot of quality personal time together. But let me tell you, I think that, why it keeps coming out, that itself, I think, made a difference in my career when he said, "That's good."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was terrified of him, but I respected him so much.
Yeah.
You know, and studying with people like John Kappas, I mean, another icon in the field. I mean, I was so blessed in those years in the 1980s, so blessed to study with such incredible people. And Al Krasner, another wonderful person, very different style. And there were three kingdoms. There was the John Kappas kingdom, the Gil Boyne kingdom, and Al Krasner kingdom in California. And we know California.
They could have a television show now, The Real Hypnotists of California.
Oh, for sure. And I tell you, none of them had kind words about the other.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was so much to learn from each of them. And I was fortunate enough to be in their presence and learn these wonderful things that I had learned and had to move on. And then I added my own stuff. I added George Bien to it.
Yeah.
Because for years I was Gil Boyne without being Gil Boyne.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're George Bien, George. And here's the thing, you know, we're talking a little bit about, and you sort of already really hinted at this, about developing relationships and really sort of establishing yourself as a leader, you know, when you do training. I had an experience today, in fact, where there were some people in my class, and I found out that they were kind of whispering about me. And what they were whispering about is one of the people in the class said, "Well, I understand that Michael used to be a monk a long time ago. You know, what is it that he actually believes?" And I'm like, well, you know, this is an interesting thing because, first of all, I'm not sure that what I believe or my story or anything is really all that particularly relevant. But it does seem as though, you know, there's a question of what is it that your students need to think about you or to believe about you in order for them to really be able to trust you as a trainer?
Well, the thing is this. First of all, when somebody comes to a seminar, a workshop, whatever it may be, there are going to be questions in their minds. One of them is, did I invest my time and money wisely? Another would be, did I make a good decision? At the end of the seminar, will I be glad that I came? So I do my best to get right to the people and literally shake hands if I can, hug them if I can, if I feel a level of comfort. So the thing is, they want to see that you're real, that you're human. I mean, Gil Boyne terrified most of us, no doubt about it. But there were also times, once he got rid of the people he didn't want in the class, which is amazing. Got rid of more people than people stayed. But the thing is, the ones that stayed, it became like a family. And the energy, I know there was an intensity about Gil, but there was also a kindness.
Yes.
And let me tell you, there was a warmth that a lot of people did not see. And this is what they want to see from you. They want to know that you're human. They want to know that you can make a mistake too. And believe me, I've made lots of them. And I have no problem sharing the mistakes I've made. And the times I fell flat on my face in front of a room. The time I came before a room, I didn't even know what to say. And I just said, I'll be right back. And I had to go to flip the books. And I said, I just brought this book here because I wanted to read this specifically to you, because I didn't want to memorize this whole page. Mm-hmm. The main thing is, I was scared. I had to do something. I had to use something as basically to hold in my hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let me tell you, when you do the trainings, that's when you start really learning. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you need as an expert trainer? Well, obviously, you need to identify the outcomes, and communicating with others. Very, very, very important. Requires well-formed outcomes for the communication process that you have yourself. Mm-hmm. And you have to have you know this one so well, Michael, but very clean and open sensory channels.
Yes.
You notice verbal and nonverbal messages that are going across the room constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to use your own verbal and nonverbal skills to develop rapport. And above all, and this is crucial, to demonstrate flexibility. Rigidity breaks. Flexibility moves.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you have to listen.
Yeah,
exactly. You have to identify issues, problems that may go on, and synthesize solutions and approaches. And your interpersonal skills better be good.
Mm-hmm. You know, here's the deal. You know, you and I and Robert Otto have been doing this for 30 some years now. You know,
yeah.
5 years, 40 years almost.
Yeah.
I
don't have gray hair.
Yeah.
Look at that.
No, I do.
No, this is really weird. I don't know why. My father had gray hair.
Yeah.
My mother didn't have gray hair.
Well, there you go. And here's the thing, after all of that time, I had the good fortune to work for John Grinder for a while, the NLP guy, and did logistics support for him for a number of trainings. And I remember one day he drew on the flip chart the smiley face that some people are familiar with about the eye movements and NLP and stuff. So he drew this little smiley face on the board, and he said, you know, or somebody asked him, I think they said, well, you know, you've been drawing this smiley face on the board here for 10 years or whatever it was at that particular point, or 12 years or something like that. How is it that you keep doing it without getting bored? And John's response, he said, what I have to do is, he says, I have to give myself a little amnesia. He says, each time I present this piece, you know, I present it as though it's something that I have just discovered and I'm really excited and really enthusiastic about. So what I'm wondering for you, you know, tell us the truth, George. Do you, you know, you've been doing this forever. Do you get bored from time to time, and how do you handle it?
You know, it's interesting. I get bored sometimes before the presentation or the training, but never during, because it's different people, different situations. One person may just, I had a woman who just broke down, just started crying. I can't do this. And she was a licensed psychologist, and she was taking, not a trainer, but she was taking, I'm sorry, she was taking a trainer. And she just, and I could not pass her. So here's somebody who is, and she's associated with a lot of these psychological associations for hypnosis. My compassion went out to her. But what am I going to do? I held her in my arms. She kept crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. But I have to help her build an image of competence and authority. Sadly, she didn't come back the last day. But what can you do? I mean, I can only do what I can do. I called her up, didn't answer my phone calls.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you, from that to seeing somebody who gets up there who thinks he or she is the world, and they are just so good. And mind you, they can even be better than you, even though they haven't had this training yet. I mean, you have both ends.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with a person like that with an ego so big? Well, I do my best to bring it down to earth, and I do it well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, because I will say something, ask something, and not to embarrass the person, but to help them think a little more and say, wait a second, I'm human too.
Yeah.
And so when you start training, I tell you, you learn so much by training. It's just incredible and absolutely wonderful. And as much as I might like a training program that person to become a hypnotherapist, a training program to become a master trainer, totally different level.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who come in their classes to show you how much they know and what they can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to squash that very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. So
yeah, without embarrassing them.
Yeah. So when you got a trainer who's a new trainer, they're just ready to go out and do their first training, whether you certify them or not, just any new trainer, what's sort of the one thing that's kind of the most important thing to suggest to a new trainer before they sort of go out to do their first deal? What do they need more than anything?
Well, probably number one, display confidence, credibility, and approachability. Those things are crucial. Exude stage presence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not be a jokester, but have some comedic element to you. In other words, everything is not so serious. because that makes John a dull boy.
Yeah.
So comedic and other techniques. Voice control, to be able to have some inflections, to be able to talk this way, when it goes down at the end, up at the end.
Yeah.
It's just not a monotonous sound. So voice control, emotional states, to have to feel passion. At the same time, they have to feel gentleness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be able to move from one to the other instantly, to anchor spatially, visually, auditorily,
Mm-hmm.
to frame, to chunk down if something is very, very large, so it's more easily digested, and create basically an accelerated learning environment where people are enjoying the learning. They don't feel like it's being stuffed in them.
Yeah.
They've had that in school. Let me tell you, I went to 12 years of Catholic school, and I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
Nothing against Catholicism, this and that. It's just that, pow, slam, wham. And the brothers didn't slap you. They punched you. The sisters slapped you. The brothers punched you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you said you're still recovering. So you started an upholstery business after that.
Yeah, that's right.
So listen, George, we're already in the last 10 minutes. It's amazing how, you certainly aren't boring us. Where the time is just flying by, and it's a delight. So we really don't have time to cover all of your whole program. So can you just sort of share some of the program's highlights and kind of let people know what's involved and what they get out of being in your program?
Man, there's just so many. There's so many. I have them I use some NLP in it to put them in an uptime state and become more sensory aware, to have them be joyous, to have them be silly up there, to have them be very serious, to change the momentum, to come out with a lot of energy, to come out then more softly. I have to utilize many different states, to come out smiling, to be charismatic, and then to actually at times even appear to be boring. Now, if you were very boring, what would you do? This is on the last day when they're up there doing the presentations in the training. Okay, now change that instantly. I can't. Well, why not? Because I am boring. Oh, wait a second. That never happened. But the thing is this. Well, yeah, it could possibly. But a resource, how can they become more charismatic? What is it about them that could draw people towards them? How can they light up the room more? To walk in, first of all, they walk in and it's their room. That's very important that they know that. It's their room, not any of the students' rooms. It's your room.
Yeah.
When the student's up there, it can be their room. And they have to get that basically through them, that they are owning the room. It's like, even in public speaking, they'll say, own the room. Can you get up there literally and own the room? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, only certain people would take this kind of a program anyway. So what do? I would congratulate them because there's interest, their passion, their determination, and they'll be transforming the lives of people. What is that?
I don't know.
Do you hear that?
I do. I hear a telephone line. Let me...
Wow, I'm looking to see that.
Oh, is that at your house?
I don't know what that is. I'm trying to see if I can get rid of it. I don't know what that was. I looked over here.
You know what? I bet I know what it is. I will bet you that it is an Amber Alert that has just taken possession of your phone. It sounded like one of those announcements in that little buzzer. Somebody's been kidnapped or some old person is missing.
Oh, okay. The Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Which is a very important alert.
Sure.
Okay, but you see, you have to also, if it's a large room, how do you keep the back of the room positively involved? So you move frequently from the front to the back, down the aisle. You don't just stand in one place. I see people present that they stand in one place. I move around. And even if there's a PowerPoint, there's the Amber Alert again. I don't have a phone here. I don't know where it's coming from. Well, anyway.
Coming through the sound card on your PC or something, maybe. Or who knows, maybe even through the phone lines that are open on this call.
No, duh.
Oh, there it is.
It's my cell phone. Let me turn this off. power off.
We'll just send some blessings to whoever's missing or lost or kidnapped. And
yes, hope they catch him, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Let me turn this off. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that.
You know what? While you're making that adjustment, I just might add to your comment is that when I was a brand new trainer, and this thing to me, this is so important. What you're saying about and I'm glad this is covered in your training, is about really getting that experience of owning the room, that this is your space, and you have, not only responsibility for, but control in it, and all of that stuff. When I was really brand new, every once in a while, I mean, usually I thought that I had control, that this was my room. Once in a while, there was somebody that was just a little bit challenging for some reason or another, or set me off some reason or another. And I found that somehow or another, they ended up owning the room, because all of my attention was on them. Everything that I said, I was sort of double checking with them to see, am I getting the right response that I want from this particular person? And it really was a challenging thing until I really got sort of centered here with myself about who was in control here.
Sometimes you have to call a break and take that person on the side and say, listen, this stuff is easy for you. You know this stuff. I can see that. And boy, I'm sure the people in here respect you a great deal. Now, is it okay? I mean, I'm going to keep talking, but if I call you every once in a while, so maybe you could ingest something? Oh, yeah, that's great. And I've done that at times, because these people need to feel important.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. I mean, look, I do speaking for a living, the trainings or whatever. If I'm in somebody's training, I shut my mouth up and I listen unless I'm asked to speak. But some of these other people, they just have to get out there because they need it so badly. And I feel sorry for them, but they could destroy a whole training for you. So you have to call a break as soon as you can and take them on the side and speak to them. And don't put them down. Don't ever. Just compliment them.
Absolutely.
And make them feel part of it. And as a matter of fact, the back of the room is very, very important, because you really have to get closer to the participants. So if possible, you move towards the black room, back of the black room, the dark room. Well, but the black room, you won't see anything.
That's where you go with those students that are difficult.
Yeah.
Take them into the black room.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people, like I say, fall apart, and people who wanted to take over.
Yeah.
But you're going to use larger gestures anyway. Because it's tough to if it's a large class. You have to do that. And direct contact is very, very important. I mean, look people right in their eyes, especially in the back rows, and hold that gaze even a little bit longer with them. And ask people in the back row, volunteers, to perhaps help you with something. You know what I'm saying?
Nice, yeah.
It's crucial. Otherwise, they'll feel they're left out.
Beautiful.
Now, if they raise their hand, ask them for their name and use it several times. So first of all, you memorize it, and summarize a question for them if they're asking a question, so other people will understand the question.
Yeah. Now, George, speaking of raising their hand and asking questions and all of those kind of things, we are actually really running at the end of our time. We're going to go a little bit over just so we can give people a chance here if folks have some questions for you. So let me just kind of remind the folks that are on the call how to go about that. If you didn't hear me say before, down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see something that says participants. And if you click on that, you'll get this participants window that will open up. You don't need to even bother with that, George. It's not really something you need. But participants, if you click on that, you'll see a list of the participants on the call. And at the bottom of that window, you'll see a little place where you can click that says raise hand. So if you've got a question and you click on that to raise your hand, that will work. If you're on the telephone, if you enter *9, that will work as well. As a matter of fact, I already see that Gloria has got her hand up. So Gloria, I'm about to take your microphone off of mute. You are unmuted, and please ask your question.
Okay, actually, I don't want to ask a question. I don't know how many people on this call have ever had George's training. He was my first trainer. And then I took the trainer's trainer with him. And I took his board certified training. And I don't know anybody that has ever made me feel so responsible and concerned about the well-being of the people that I deal with. And most importantly, we never discussed how to get the next greedy little buck. Everything was for the benefit of the client. And I want anybody on here who's not had his training to know that if you don't have it, you're really missing a very wonderful experience.
Lovely.
Wow.
Lovely.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
Well, thank you for that, Gloria. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for that so much. Thank you for that.
Exactly what people need to hear. Anybody else then have a question for George? You can raise your hand, and we'll give you a chance to ask. I appreciate that Gloria asked that question or raised her hand at least so quickly, because sometimes people are a little shy and it takes them a couple of minutes to do that. If we don't see a hand in the next minute or so, George, in the meantime, I do have just sort of another question that you might want to consider, and
Okay.
and that is, things are changing, new technology, new times, all that stuff. When you sort of look off into the future of training and education, what does that look like to you?
Well, so much more is being done online. I mean, I do the board certified hypnotherapist program is online. The stress management certified stress management consultant is online, and so many other programs online. And I don't know what will ever happen with actual training as far as become a certified hypnotherapist, but perhaps might be half in class, half online. I mean, you need the presence in class, no doubt about that. But so much is going more and more online, and the thing is to feel comfortable having a stupid camera in front of you. It's not a stupid camera. I'm being nice to your camera.
Yeah, be nice to the camera, and it'll be
Yeah,
nice.
be nice to the camera. But they have a camera to you in front of you, and you have to talk to a camera as though you're talking to people, even though you're there and I can see you. And that's wonderful, but it doesn't have that same element of human presence.
Yeah.
And so you have to overcome that and feel as though you do have it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know it's going online, but with online you could reach the world,
Yes.
virtually almost every country.
Well, you're like me, George, in that you do a lot of traveling. I know that you've done a lot of training in Asia, for example.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of training in the UK, and as a result of it, we end up with clients that are all over the world as well, clients and students and etc. The beauty of being able to operate online and to figure out, we're still all learning, how exactly do you do that? Because in my experience, there's nothing that's as valuable as presence.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Presence. And yet, maybe that's the most valuable thing, but sometimes that's simply not an available choice.
And think of the money it saves people in traveling.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, today in the world we're living now, some people are afraid to fly even. So I don't know where that's going to go. But if somebody can't get to you, what's going to happen?
Well, yeah, I'm not only afraid to fly. If they do fly, they might not be able to get in.
That's all. You might not be able to get in. That's another thing. You're good.
So,
but online it's great. I mean, I'm wearing my underwear underneath this. I'm not even wearing pants.
There you go.
I'm kidding. I'm wearing pants.
Oh, sure.
I'm kidding. But it does give you the freedom, and once it's over, you're home. Before it begins, you're home. So there are advantages.
Yeah. I get to finish this and then walk right out into the other room and have supper. I like that idea. All right. Well, I don't really see any other hands up, and like I said, they don't always ask a lot of questions, and I appreciate that you have been so thorough that's probably why. But George, we know your program is great. There's so many trainers that you have trained in our organization, through the years that really stand as living testimonials to what you do. So keep on going for us, brother. And for those of you on the call, join George Bien for the Master Trainer training at the IACT IMDHA conference. And again, his training is a couple of days before and a couple of days after. It's the 17th, 18th, and 19th. And then the 22nd and the 23rd of May at beautiful Daytona Beach, which is just waiting for all of our arrival. It's going to be here before you know it, and we are so looking forward to that. So thank you again, George, for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and everybody on the call, remember you can get a recording of this call by going to the forum or by going to the website and clicking on that media link where you'll find the Hypnocaster, or on the teleconference link, or on the conference link rather, where you'll find a link to teleconferences that will also give you access to it, or writing me at flhypno@outlook.com, and we'll see to it that you can watch this again and again to the delight and amazement of you and your friends. And so real appreciations, lots of love, George. I'm going to do right now something a little unusual and risky, and that is that I'm going to unmute everybody, because this is sort of the end that we have, and there'll be probably a lot of noise when I do that, but it gives kind of everybody a chance to sort of shout out and say, hello, goodbye, good night. We love you all. So again, thank you, George, and you all come back next week. Sherry Gilbert, same time, same bat channel. We will be right here for you. So here goes the unmute. So
thank you, Dr. Bian. Thank you, Dr. Watson. Inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Bian. Loved it. It was fantastic. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Warm thanks from Chilliwack, BC.
Thank you.
Have a good conference.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody, and
Thank
good
you. God
night.
bless.
We'll be for you next week, and George, bye, everybody. Signing off.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. God bless you.